Okay, today is July 19, 2014. Hope everybody is enjoying the weekend. Let's take a look at the market, where we stand, and then we look at a few stock by request. Okay, so start off with the S&P 500. We've seen that S&P 500 is still, trying to hold about this, 1950. We're looking at this level of support somewhere down here at this 1944, 1945 level here. And you can see that it is still trending up against this trend line here. So until it come down to break some major support, I think this market, looking at the market, the trend is still up. And I wouldn't be surprised that next week we will probably see it come back and tag this all-time high and possibly put in a new all-time high. You can see on Thursday we have this big, down candle here, and that was major, primarily due to the geopolitical event in which that, in the mid-morning or so, we sort of got the news that the a passenger airline, Malaysia passenger airline, was kind of got shut down in Ukraine. Then near the close, we got another piece of geopolitical news from the Middle East, in which the Israeli ground force was moving into the Gaza Strip. So that kind of refueled the market to sell off once again. But then on Friday, it all came back because we have seen this picture before and all these things. Just gotta let everybody calm down and we assess the situation. There's a tendency that the market, it's just like, shoot before ask questions. So everybody just kind of sell off before they go and assess what's the ramification. But once everybody understood, the limitation or the ramification of everything, that it's not going to escalate to a point that it's going to cause World War III or something like that, then everybody kind of, put a little bit of rationality behind some of the sell-off on Thursday, and then on Friday the market made a big comeback. So looking at this trend here, it doesn't give us any sign at all that the market is already top or ready to come down, because we have to understand a market doesn't top until it gets a little bit over euphoric. And with these kind of chopping action, this is certainly not a euphoric type of action. It's not like everybody want to rush in. Matter of fact, this would be looking a little bit more of a euphoric action if we get this thing here, to come up over here, and then we get a little spike, and maybe like this, a spike on the long shooting star. Then you would get, maybe in the morning, it just run up and come down and close near where it started or below where it opened. Then you could see that it could kind of signify that everybody got sucked in. Whoever wanted to buy, the last buyer have already come in the market, and essentially we exhausted the buyer. So until we see something similar to this, I wouldn't, try to make too much out of it about this market being top and it's ready to come down and that sort of thing. Then a lot of people are looking at this 10-20% correction, and my premises is, it's been 33 months or so, right? Since we've seen some correction in that magnitude, and if the market is going to give you that type, give that type of a correction, it would have done so long ago, and right now, I don't believe that correction in that magnitude will show up. I think when we see that kind of correction in that magnitude, it will be a new bear market, and we probably will see a 50% or more of a retracement, not this 10-20%. We might see maybe a 3 to 5, and at the best maybe 8% correction or something like that. But I don't even think that's in the card right now. I think we're going to go and just run up and try to put a top on this market here eventually. And I can't say when, because I don't have a crystal ball, and I'm not even predicting right now. I don't see anything in the market to tell us that the market has top or even near the top. Okay. Now, I do agree that it could be in the process of making a top, but beside that, it doesn't tell me anything about the market have put in a top yet. I know there's a lot of people is looking at, a double top in the Russell. So if we take a look at the Russell, a lot of people seems to be, thinking this is the double top here, right? This right here and this right here, it seems like a double top. Okay. But again, it could be true, but maybe, it is turned out to be a double top. But right now, if you're looking at this thing, it doesn't look like a double top. If I will, to a double top, a ideal double top would be something like this. Right? Oops. Let me do this. It would be something like this. Right? So you got a lower top. You don't get a higher top or something like that. But if you look at the Russell Future, the Russell Future actually made a new high back here. Okay, so right now, even though this thing is only shy about 50 cents, as I look at it, shy about 50 cents, we might have this, start coming down here. Then all of a sudden, people be talking about a head and shoulder pattern once again. But when that time comes, we'll look at it. But for now, I think again, we've seen that the Russell have been lagging before, and always, given a chance, given time, it catches up, because there's still a lot of people want to take risks. It's just a matter of get it to a level that attract all these dip buyers to come in. And I believe that as long as we still hold up on at this particular level here, there's still going to be a possibility that the Russell will come up and make a new high. Because again, we're basically looking at this support level here, somewhere around this level. If it hold about this 1120, okay, and we bounce off of that, the chances are we're going to come back and we take these level here and make it back up here and put in a new all-time high. All right, then also looking at the NASDAQ 100, you can see NASDAQ 100, if we go back and look at it on a weekly basis, right, on the NASDAQ, we have to go to a monthly. Look at these levels. It's getting back up to the 2000 era, right? And here's the Y2K peak, way up here, okay? And this is somewhere around 4,816. So, and a lot of people, when we are down here, they didn't think of any that we could ever get close to this. And don't be surprised that we're actually going to take out this level. You can see some of these stocks, some of the old names like Cisco, Intel, they're already breaking out, decade high, right? All right. So you're going to see some of those old names actually going to push us this NASDAQ 100, along with some of the newer names like the Facebook, the Twitter, okay, and the Google, Amazon, Netflix, and it's going to push this thing up. And I wouldn't be surprised if we're going to see a new NASDAQ 100 all-time high that will exceed that 4816 or whatever that level is, close to that, this 4816 level. So once again, don't jump, the gun on calling top or anticipating that the market going to sell off and that kind of stuff just because of some emotional reaction on some geopolitical news or geopolitical event, okay? Because the market, there's a tendency that it will react emotionally, but in the long run, it's just like, when people talk about fundamental versus technical, technical is on a short-term basis, but in the long run, fundamental always, play out, right? So it's the same thing with, the market trend. All these short-term geopolitical or whatever event, these black swan event, that sort of thing, these are really temporary and short-lived, and the bigger picture of the market will always prevail based on whatever trend currently is on, right? And right now, the market trend is still up. So until the market tells us otherwise, just be cautious. And if we feel uneasy or you feel uneasy, then move to the sideline and be in cash. Okay, so that is a position. But for God's sake, don't go and try to short the market right now. You're just going to get hammered. Right, because the market say you are not supposed to short it. If you are uncertain, we're going to chop around, and if you don't like it, then move to the sideline. Okay, so again, we're probably looking at the NASDAQ 100 will probably continue to put in multi-year high and grind away to maybe get close to that 4,800, and all of a sudden all these media start monitoring that and talking about 5,000, and then on the NASDAQ composite, right? We're talking about that 5,000 level. So there's two magnet number, right? The 2,000 on the S&P, that's going to be a magnet. We already hit 17,000 on the Dow Jones. So we got to see that, 2,000 on the S&P. And if we continue to move up, start, paying attention to the possibility of that 5,000 on the NASDAQ, okay? So those are the magnet number. And then let's go and take a look at finally the Dow Jones Industrial. We see that in the Dow Jones Industrial, we're still hovering around, this 17,000 level, and it's probably going to make it up to this trend line here, somewhere around 17,300, 17,004, right? Okay, because you look at it, it's still trending nicely up. There's no sign of euphoric or spiking action, that, the climatic top, because, we need to see that climatic, buying coming in to get everybody, that want to buy, have bought. Then we will see a top of the market. Because until otherwise, just tread carefully on the uptrend. Okay, so that's basically the market. Let's quickly take a look at a few stocks. That was my request. BEAV. I am not familiar with these names, and what I do is, first we just take a look at the longer term pictures to see where it came from and where it's at. So you can see that this stock is pretty much made a run from the low of 09. And it had a heck of a run. Matter of fact, it was down at the $6 level, and right now it's over. Recently just went up to $100 level. So that's a lot of, a lot of gain. Okay, but beside that, we're looking at the near term. You can see that it's still trending up on this trend line here. Now we don't know if this gap is a exhaustion gap or a breakout gap. It's all depending on how you look at it. Right, on the long term, it seems like it's exhaustion gap. But if we take a closer look, and as we go back to the daily chart here, then you could say, well, it's kind of broken out here on this baseline, so it could be a breakout gap. And furthermore, you look at here, essentially we got a little bit of a, kind of flag or a channel, right? So it's sort of setting up a flag here. And so you can see that, on the daily, it seems to be breaking out at these levels. So right now we're essentially looking at this particular pivot point for it to break out, and if it break out, then maybe work itself up back to this 100 and possibly get back up to closest 102. Okay, so but right now it seems like it's gonna tagging this channel, so I wouldn't be surprised that maybe we get a little bit of a pullback. But the key is to see would it be able to break above this trend line here, this inflection point. If it could, then look forward to fill this gap. If it can't, then we need to see, can it hold on this, this particular support somewhere around this $89, $90 level. If it break that, then we have to kind of monitor for this particular support line. So right now, it's kind of inconclusive what kind of gap this is, exhaustive gap or a breakout gap, depending where, what time frame you're looking at. If we are looking at on the weekly time frame or longer, time frame, then this appear to be a possible exhaustion gap only if the price come back down and break this trend line. Okay, but if it continues to go up and do a major move, matter of fact, if we do a major move on this flag here, let me get my Fibonacci retracement tool. All right, so let's say we use this, this right here as the flagpole. Okay, and so what we're going to do is to move this over here on this breakout of the flag. Let's say, okay, then you get this thing down. So basically, the major move is somewhere around 111. Okay, so if we break out of this channel on the upside, then look forward to tag this high here. Okay, so this is 101, and possibly move up to if we're talking about 80%, we trade, trace out of this flag, so it'll be somewhere around this 106, 107, and then 100% will be somewhere around this 111. Okay, so that's BEAV, and then the other one is KERX. Okay, see, I don't even know the name of these company. I mean, well, I could have looked it up, but I didn't. So anyway, so again, let's go and take a look at the weekly. You can see that the weekly has also been, doing quite well. Although it booked on the 09, came up, form a base somewhere around this $5, and then it booked to the base here, this baseline here back in. Let me get rid of this and put my line tool. Back here, it seems to have broken to, to here in the mid or early 2013. So once it broke about the 6 area, and it just kind of make it up to this high of 17 plus. So right now we're essentially seeing this thing also trending fairly nicely on this trend line here. Okay, and then we take a closer look on the daily. We see that sort of like trending up here, and here's the recent high. So right now it's kind of pulled back, and you could say that there might be a possibility of bouncing off these moving average here. But I'd be looking at it maybe possibly pulling back to this 13 level, because also you could see that the MACD is still kind of declining here. Right, so although there is a possibility that a lot of people you might want to you want to be able to see some sort of a quick trade, quick bounce here, and maybe bounce back up here. But then I'd be looking at this pivot, right? For this thing to take out this high before even considering that, because right now there's really not that much of a sign to tell me there is a setup here for entry. So I'd be just kind of monitoring to see will it be making it back down to this trend line here. If we could get down to this trend line, then I see a bounce here. So similarly, like back here, then maybe we see a little bit of a play and a bounce of support and try to catch this reversal here. Okay, but for now, over here on this moving average, just not much of a credence there. I don't even see anything that can be any sort of support or resistance, even though if we are playing this particular support line here, right? So it's still a little bit away, to see, the price to come down and then bounce off of that. So, and beside, there might be a little bit of resistance here. So you really only trying to catch it maybe at 1 point or so, even if you get a little bounce here. So I'm not sure the risk and reward is kind of worth it. So anyway, so that's basically KERX, and then the other one is PBR. Okay, so again, let's take a look at the weekly, and if we take a look at weekly here, it seems to, have come up and held this bottom, this pivot low, even though it broke down a little bit over here. And in addition to that, we also have a trend line coming down here. And you can see it's sort of kind of bumping up against that trend line on the weekly basis. And if we go to take a look at the daily, all right, let's see on the 3-day basis here. And if I extend this line down here, okay, so let's get it closer, so make sure. Okay, so if we look at on the daily, it's kind of bumping up against this trend line, and also recently, it did, got a little nice break, break out of this thing here, this resistance here. And if you look at a shorter term, it seems to be holding up on this trend line. So right now, if, it's basically we're kind of monitoring for this to see could it break above this trend line and move up, because we did see a little bit of a upturn on the MACD recently, and also volume kind of came in, so maybe there will be some further follow up on follow through on the upside. But there's a little gap here, so it could eventually, if it kind of pull back down to test this 16 level, and if it can't hold that 16 level, it might even pull back to this particular trend line here. Okay, so that's some of the level that we want to keep an eye on. So right now, it's basically that's it, and maybe tomorrow or later on the weekend we'll put up another video and we talk and take a look at some of the stock that is scheduled for earning, such as Apple, and I believe Facebook is also scheduled. So there's going to be a lot of big cap tech name report, scheduled to report earning, and certainly it's going to be some fireworks. So just stay tuned. Hopefully, just go and enjoy the rest of the weekend, and we'll talk about stock a little bit later on.